this is kind of digressing a little bit, but the government is trying to make the tax-free strategies as unattractive as they can. Why do you think that is, Patty?
Well, because it makes everyone more dependent on them.
Right.
And
And they want the money to be taxed.
what do the majority of the people that have money, what do they do? The tax-free strategy.
Oh, they all use the P-slip strategy.
They sure do.
They all do. And if you've got clients that have money, now some of them have the wrong type of tax-free strategies. They use, I'm not,
That's why it's not a P-slip then.
that's right. It's not properly structured.
Mhm.
And that, I've seen people, they try to convince me whole life is the way to go. One of my tennis students, whole life policy he was sold on. Guess what? The loan costs on a whole life policy are too high if I want a guaranteed tax-free income.
Mhm.
That's the problem. Whereas on an index universal life policy, the cost is lower. But the government, with this legislature called AG 47, they are basically preventing the true returns from being shown. So you've got to show no multipliers. You're not showing any of the perks of the policies. That's like looking at a mutual fund. Huh, interesting, they don't do that to mutual funds.
Mm.
And the mutual fund says, well, we can't speculate, so we can't promise you on a prospectus that, if everything goes well, you're going to make 12%. In fact, there's a famous radio host, his first name is Dave, that constantly says you got to get a good mutual fund that's going to pay 12%. And I try to call a show and I say, hey, which one is that? Well, they wouldn't take my call.
Can't imagine why.
Wonder why. Okay. And that's when, my comment to that radio host is stay in your lane. Stay in the lane where you help people get out of debt. Don't just sit there and try to give advice to something that you're really not an expert at, But he promotes the 12% mutual fund, which to this date, I haven't found one that's consistently made 12%.
No, it doesn't exist. If so,
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to pull something up. I'm going to pull something up for our Facebook listeners. I'm going to go and I'm going to look and see what the market has done in the last 20 years, last 5 years, to see what the average return of the stock market was. Okay.
this will be interesting.
Yeah. So, tell me what you think. Again, you see what's going on. You listen to part of the interview with President Trump. What's your thoughts on what some of the things were talked about, if you will?
I believe that the things that he said are accurate. I think that we are headed for some, rough roads ahead.
Right. Unless things change.
Unless things change. And even with that changes, it will be good, but there's going to be a growing pain.
Right.
Like you said before, there's not, at this point in the venture, neither candidate will it be a smooth ride for a year or two.
No, it is.
But the ship will be headed in the right direction.
Right.
You will see land ahead. You won't be headed further into the abyss, which it feels like now.
Right.
And Americans can once again, like MAGA, make America great again, but also instill with us the truths and the beliefs that our forefathers came for.
Yes, which was freedom, right?
Freedom
from oppressive government.
Exactly. And that would be so wonderful, because you can't say certain things. I mean, it's just unreal. But
I wish we could get our producer Ken to play that statement from Ronald Reagan. Wish we could find that soundbite, but I'm trying to put the S&P post, but guess what's happening today? They're not letting us go on the return right now. So
what I found interesting, though, was when I did do the Google about America's greatest concerns with retirement, we are able to sit down and address every one of them and to help clients with that. And one of their greatest regrets is they did not start soon enough in planning. And it's not as long as you would think. So if you're sitting there and you're in your 50s or 60s, you're like, oh my gosh, I waited too late. Let me just keep my head in the sand. No, in as little as 5 years, it can make a difference in what your retirement looks like.
Patty, I'm looking at the numbers right here. Let me share this on our Facebook page here.
When you say the numbers, which numbers?
I'm looking at the return again for those people who just love returns. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 5 years, right now, yeah, hold on, please. The last 5 years right now, what do you think the market has averaged as a rate of return?
In the
I'm
last
talking
5 years?
the Dow or the S&P. So in other words, what's the average rate of return that we've seen?
6.35.
Not bad, but too high.
Really?
I'm sorry. No, I'm wrong. It's 10. The last 5 years, the market average has been 10%.
Well, that's more than I thought.
But here's the problem with that. The rate is not what you buy. Because remember, if the market goes down, you need more money to make up the loss. So even though it's average 10%, that doesn't mean that my account increased 50%. See, that's the danger. That's where people get confused. So we've got 42 seconds left in this segment.
And I think, and just in those few seconds, it went from a 10% average to an 8% average.
Of course. That's how it works. Year to date, you know what the average, you know what the return is? 5.62%. You know what it is the last 3 months? Less than 1%. Less than 1%. This is why you don't chase rates. Okay, we got 10 seconds left, folks.
Amazing.
Call us at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. Go to mymoneyissafe.com.
I want to see all the while. So much to feel what others seem to, but should I never
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg Elliott of the Prosperity Group. We are on the brink of war. We are on the brink of a political election, and most people freeze and wait for that to happen before they make decisions. Don't wait and pass up some of the greatest opportunities I've seen in my career. I'm talking adding over 45% to your retirement account, adding over 10% for income guaranteed. If you want to learn how that works, call us at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com.
Well, summer is upon us and the weather is beautiful. Everyone has a favorite outdoor activity: golf, bike riding, bird watching, long walks. Ask 100 people and you'll get 100 answers. But if everyday aches and pains are keeping you on the sidelines, I have one answer: Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients. It doesn't just mask pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it. Wherever you're hurting, back, neck, joints, or muscles, in 3 weeks or less, you'll start to feel the difference all day, every day. So whatever you like to do, swimming, pickleball, hanging out in the garden, Relief Factor can help you feel good again and let you enjoy all your favorite outdoor activities all summer long. ReliefFactor.com, 1-800-4RELIEF, 1-800-473-5433. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
I believe help down.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Greg Elliott of the Prosperity Group, and this is our last segment for today. And one of our clients on Facebook, and you can actually watch our Facebook page. We actually do this on Facebook, and the question is, Tom, one of our listeners, or faithful listeners, mentioned about the possible war and its effect on money. Now, let me say something to you folks. It has been said that one of the flaws in a capitalistic economy is that you need to have ongoing wars to sustain it. Okay. I don't necessarily adhere to it because we've been told that, but we had a president that was here between 2016 and 2020 that had no wars. This administration, we've been on the brink of war for 3 years. We are closer to World War III than we've ever been. What's my proof on it? Ukraine, where we're giving billions of dollars to Ukraine. By the way, folks, have you seen Zelensky's house that he now has? Okay. It's pretty nice. Okay. He bought his wife a what is it, a McLaren or something like that. So it's crazy when you see some of this stuff happening, folks. But yet we're sustaining and we're creating a narrative that what did this president, this commander in chief, say when he got in? He said, yeah, we're going to consider putting Ukraine in NATO. That was the worst mistake that was made because that's what stirred up and poked the bear. Folks, I did a radio show and it was called Don't Poke the Bear. And the bear's been poked. And I don't care what you read in the news. Nuclear bombs are not friendly. They're not user friendly and they're not population friendly. And I pray to God we never get to that point. But, with the nuts running the asylum, that can be a problem, folks. That can truly be a problem. Patty, what do you think about, what do you think, how do you think war would affect inflation if we got into a war right now? First of all, if the Israel thing escalates, Israel's going to not hold back against Iran, which means China's going to get involved and Russia's going to get involved. That's the big danger. All right. Ukraine, another front. You've got India staring at a couple of things. You've got China overlooking Taiwan. What do you think it's going to do to inflation?
I don't say, how can it help?
Well, it gets us out of it. It actually helps the economy, except not with these weapons.
I was going to say, we didn't have things that could obliterate countries.
Right.
We had
Right.
bullets.
Well-
Bullets, and we had tanks.
Right.
And that was bad enough.
That was bad enough.
And we could drop some bombs. And the bombs would destroy buildings.
Right.
But they had so big of a spread.
Right.
And I mean, they could fight with drones. They could have a drone come over here and you wouldn't even know it. And there's just so much.
Right. Right. We've just created such a Holocaust potential
How to make a
situation.
third world country out of all the countries.
Right. Right. Well, wow, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective. I think what it would do is it would cause things to be worse. You would have rationing. You'd probably have gas shortages.
Oh, good Lord, Jeff.
We've talked about this before. on
Food
previous
shortages,
shows.
gas
What happens if
shortages.
the internet shuts down? What would happen this week? Today's Wednesday.
What if they were to block the electric grid?
Yeah. Yeah. There was a show that was on television. It wasn't on long. It was with Billy Burke that played in the Twilight series. He played Bella's dad, and it was called Revolution. And it was post EMT United States. And they were riding horses. They had rifles. They had no computers.
I mean, the Wild West, welcome again.
Back in there. And that's the
Back in
problem.
saddle.
And here's the problem with rationing right now. It is said that if the internet shut down, the grocery store shut down, I don't know what it is, like 60% of Americans could potentially starve.
I mean, I believe it.
I mean, that's crazy. But this is the craziness that's going on, I mean, these are things that we talk about. And the reason I bring them up, inflation, we're paying $1 trillion on our debt, $1 trillion on our debt. Okay. I forgot over what period of time. We're at 35 trillion. We're going that way. Tom, one of our listeners said 3 days without food and people start to kill each other.
I was just thinking this. I was thinking about looting.
So again, that's the problem with all of this. But you know what? I want to end the last part of the show with, something more positive, to create hope right now. Men will do what they do. They're going to do what they do. They have motivations. Human nature is not great. I've talked about this before. There's a book. It's called The Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. And he's talking to a crowd, and I think it's the 16th century, 16th or 17th century. And he's literally talking to crowds as if it sounds like he's talking to people today. So what it means is people's nature really haven't changed. Men has the ability to do a lot of good things, but there's also a side of man that can do all sorts of atrocities and evil. So hopefully we don't go to war. Hopefully cooler heads will prevail. Hopefully we consider who got us in wars. Which administration? Was it the Democrats that were in more wars or Republicans that were in more wars? Who was president during World War II? Who was president during the Korean War? Okay. All right. And who was president during the Vietnam War? And who's the president over the Ukraine and Israeli going? So I'm just saying, folks, don't listen to what people are telling you is going on. Research. Check out what I just said. All right. You need to educate yourself. And that's why we try to say things. So look, we can help with people's retirement right now. We can help them protect their money, get high guarantees right now to at least sustain you and have inflation strategies. Regardless of how bad it looks around, we need to hope for the best and time. If we don't, because nobody knows the date or the time of the hour, not even the sun, we don't know. And so, what is it in the Ecclesiastes? A time to live, a time to die. Nothing new under the sun. Patty, any closing thoughts?
Really and truly, I agree that it's timely. Like you said several times, these offers that we have will not be around forever. Some we have a heart out. The one that has the 40 some odd % bonus, that's the 26th of August is D-Day on it.
Yep.
The others are sometime in September. And like what happened with one of our other strategies, one of the immediate strategies, I mean, they just pulled it.
Yeah.
Like that. So,
but we've got somebody else that thankfully just opened that up.
Yes.
With a bigger company even.
Yes. And we have some great strategies, but I'm just saying, we would love to meet with you. If it's something that a friend of yours, have them call us.
Yeah, folks, it doesn't hurt to call. And we've been helping a lot of folks right now. And I'm going to say this, if you have an annuity that's older than 2023, give us a call. Give us a call. We might be able to reposition your account into much better accounts. And so it's important to do that. Okay.
Absolutely. And don't make the decision without, hearing the facts for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk. And listen, folks in Atlanta, we're available by Zoom. We're not far away from Atlanta. You want to make a nice trip to Greenville? We can do that. You can do that, or we can come and see you. It's hard for us to get away these days, but we really look and are honored to hear from you. And if we can help you with any of these strategies, folks, give us a call right now. These guarantees are high. Don't be deceived by 2 or 3 days of good returns. Don't be deceived by that. Look at the macro picture. Look at the big picture. Play the long game. Okay.
Are you there, Doctor?
The long game. Americans not so much.
Are you there?
So it's very important.
I am here, sir. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
What you can and can't do,
see
folks. So, folks, listen. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm not sure.
We will see you next week.
You're swimming today. That's nice.
Prosperity Plan ABCs. Then give us a call, folks.
You got your volume.
Take care. God bless you, Patty. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye, folks. God bless you.
How's that? A little better?
Little bit more.
You talking about me or the music?
You.
All right. How's that?
Good. That's perfect.
Okay.
It's not necessarily that your volume is falling, but my ears are not what they used to be.
I got the same problem. But
this guy at a bar was trying to talk to me, and I looked over at him and I said, "It's not my hearing that's going, it's my caring."
You get in trouble like that.
Yeah. So shut up and leave me alone.
Okay, Doc. Well, you sound good. Anything special we're talking about today?
Oh, I don't know. Let's talk about Israel and Ukraine again, and economy, and right heart failure, and what else have I got here? I got a whole bunch of stuff.
All right, we'll just go along. We'll go right down the list for you.
Let's see what we got here. Sodium ion batteries.
What are they?
They're going to replace the lithium ion batteries. It's a hybrid battery that has a little longer half-life than the lithium ion. And there's a new factory opening up, I believe, in Virginia. And they're going to start manufacturing these things, first high-end for industry, but it'll probably trickle down to the automobile industry at some point.
As long as they're making it here, I'm happy.
And let's see what else we got. Medicare's drug price talks are about to get more heated. Medicare's trying to negotiate directly with the drug companies.
What's wrong with that?
Why the market is overpriced? Well, before the government was not really supposed to be able to directly negotiate fees with the drug companies, but I guess with some of the new legislation that came in under the Democrats now, or I don't know, maybe it was Trump. At any rate, now they can negotiate directly. And remember when Biden passed that bill when he first came in, and he said, we've lowered the cost for 10 major drugs. Of course, they're, itty-bitty, dinky, little, hardly used drugs, but extremely expensive. But now they're going after things like insulin, which has really gone out of price, way out of the market, way out of the reach of a lot of people. So they're arguing over things like that now. And that's good. I mean, I've said for a long time the government should be able to negotiate. But it's also private enterprise, so you have to figure out where that line is.
Hey, when you buy in bulk, you always get a break. That is tradition in this country.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Doc, looks like we're getting close to news, and I'll give you some audio, and we'll pick it up after the weather.
I'll be right here.
People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton, like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE, 844-47-BIBLE.
This is Dennis Prager. I am excited to announce the all-new Pragertopia Plus. You can listen to my show whenever it's convenient for you, all commercial-free and all on demand. Now with Prager Plus, search topics, guests, and segments all the way back to 2010. And now a truly exciting new benefit, my monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. This is where for an hour each month, Pragertopia Plus members get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. That's right, anything. It's on video. I'll be talking to you and answering your questions. We may even have a special guest every now and then. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at Pragertopia.com. This is only available to Pragertopia Plus members. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
WGUL and W229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. Come grow with us and reach your retirement goals.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. The head of the Teamsters Union spoke at the Republican National Convention, but he has not been invited to address the Democrats in Chicago this week. White House correspondent Greg Clugston has more.
Plans are in the works for Vice President Harris to hold a roundtable discussion with members of the Teamsters, but the union's president, Sean O'Brien, has yet to get an invitation to speak at this week's Democratic National Convention. He angered some Democrats by speaking at the GOP convention last month, where O'Brien criticized both major political parties. The Teamsters say the decision on a presidential endorsement will be made after the conventions. Greg Clugston, Chicago.
The spread of the bird flu to humans is leaving dairy stalls empty at county fairs across this country.
The state of Michigan was especially hard hit by the avian flu. So now students in 4-H programs hoping to show cattle at local fairs are out of luck.
Kind of like COVID for cows.
Like 16-year-old Allison Smith, a prize winner last year, who was hoping to show her 2 cows this year at the Osceola County Fair.
All the work put in.
A 4-H educator for Michigan State University's Extension Center, Kendra Van Order.
We have had a couple human cases where humans have contracted the avian flu virus from dairy cattle, and so it's become a human health issue as well.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Venezuelans across the world responded to a call from their country's political opposition. They've taken to the streets to defend the faction's claimed victory over President Nicolas Maduro in last month's disputed presidential election. Social media company X says it will close its operations in Brazil, saying that Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes threatened to arrest their legal representative in the country if they did not comply with his orders. This is SRN News.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. We'll cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before space runs out by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at pragercruise.com.
Another last-minute adventure from Hotels.com.
After 9 hours in the car, we were almost home from vacation.
Things were going well until
Sparkles.
they headed back for Sparkles, but they didn't know about last-minute deals from Hotels.com.
So we slept in our car.
Life happens, and when it does, Hotels.com has a last-minute deal. Right now, find great deals in Orlando, Atlanta, and throughout Florida. Hotels.com. Be smart. Book smart.
As an independent registered investment advisor, Simple Path has the freedom to offer unbiased advice without the potential conflicts of large broker dealers. Visit simplepathretirement.com.
Just when you thought your smartphone couldn't get any smarter, now you can add the AM860 app with local news, national headlines, and commentary. The answer is smart. Adding the AM860 app to your smartphone is genius. Get it now at the Apple App Store and Google Play.
For today, sunshine and patchy clouds with a high of 93. For tonight, clear skies with a low of 80. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 92. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy with occasional rain and a thunderstorm late, low 79. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
Go, Doc.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Bill, and we're doing a show. I got Ken with me again, as always. Well, not always, but most of the time. Sometimes he sneaks off and takes a trip to Key West. But
you got to do what you got to do, Doc.
You got to do what you got to do. And a big week, huh? With the Ukrainians invading Russia. I love it.
Yeah,
not a big area. It's like a 20 by 20 mile area, or a quarter into Kursk. Kursk is about 300 miles from Kyiv, which is the capital of the Ukraine. And I guess by car, it's a 6 or 7 hour trip. I'm sure the roads aren't that great once you get into Russia. But you got to admire him. And apparently there was a journalist embedded with him. He said they're leaving quite a trail of destruction. I don't know if this is true or not, but one of the reports said several 100,000 Russians have been killed in this war. Do you think
No, really?
Do you think that's possible? I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know.
That seems like an awful lot.
Maybe
It really
they meant injuries, casualties. Maybe they meant not only people killed, but also wounded.
Probably, yeah, for a number that high, yeah.
So you remember the Nord pipeline? You remember that in the North Sea or in the
Yeah, a gas pipeline.
Baltic Sea?
Somebody blew it up. Nobody knows who did that.
Well, yeah, now we do. It was the Ukrainians.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was. If you look behind me, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, there's the gas bubbling up. The pipeline was pumping natural gas from Russia to Europe. and Germany and ports thereafter. And so what happened, you got to love this, is the Ukrainians didn't have the money to fund this, so some of the private business guys in Ukraine decided that they would fund it. And they had a military guy with them, and then they hired 4 deep sea divers, because I guess it's 200 or 300 feet down, and it's quite a jump to go down there. And they chartered a yacht, and they brought a woman with them to make it look like they were going on vacation. And they had sonar, and they had some explosives, and they located the thing, and they worked in pairs of 2, and they'd go down, because it takes a long time to decompress when you come from that far down. So even if you're down for 20 minutes, it might take you 2 or 3 hours to decompress as you come up. Decompression, folks, is where you have to make stops at different levels in the sea and allow the nitrogen in your system to decompress and come out. Because if you come up too fast and you get nitrogen bubbles in your system, then you can have the bends. And the word actually came from people having this and bending over, because it made their stomach hurt, and it can affect everything, including your nervous system. It can cause brain damage. They're little bubbles, little nitrogen bubbles.
So you have to set that fuse for like 6 hours.
Yep. And I had one young guy just last week. He came in, and he was a scuba diver, and he said he had a case of the bends, and he went into the pressure chamber, the decompression chamber. So what that is they stick you in this chamber, and they raise the pressure in there to force the nitrogen back into your bloodstream, and then they slowly decompress you to allow it to come out normally, and that cures the bends. But he was worried because he thought he had a hole in his heart. And the problem there is that if you get little bubbles going from the right to the left side of the heart from a hole in the wall between the 2 receiving chambers, that can definitely cause a stroke. Mm-hmm. So we had to do what's called a transesophageal echocardiogram on him, and that's where you do an ultrasound of the heart, but you do it down the throat in the food tube, Ken.
Sounds uncomfortable, Doc.
Well, it doesn't bother me a bit, but some of the patients, well, actually, we put you to sleep.
Oh, good. Okay.
But you know what I did, Ken? This is a true story. I wanted to have one of my friends take a look at one of my valves, which was leaky, and I wanted to watch. So before he came in, I gargled some xylocaine jelly, and I stuck it down into my stomach on my own. And he came in, and I said, here. I handed him the scope. I'm wide awake. Everybody's just amazed. They're all anesthesia's there, and the nurses and everybody. Handelman's crazy. Yeah, that's true.
He wanted to watch. He wants to watch.
Any rate, so these 4 divers went down, and they're funded privately, and the German intelligence and the CIA and the Dutch intelligence, everybody knew that they were going to do it and had warned them not to do it. And they did it anyway.
So this was a rogue operation. This wasn't a sanctioned operation.
Well, Zelensky, first he had okayed it, and then I guess he backed off after the Russians started pitching a fit.
Yeah.
And but I tell you what, it's too cool, which really hurt the Russian economy, I'm sure, for a while.
Well, yeah, and it might still be. The Europeans had to go somewhere else to find their natural gas, so why go back to the Russians after that?
Yeah, I mean, we could have made money on that deal, but Joe wouldn't let us drill.
I thought we had more natural gas here than just about anywhere else in the world.
We do, and I'm proud to say that I'm a donor to that. So.
Me too, Doc.
Okay, good. We're on the same page then. So that's the story on the Ukraine, which I find very fascinating. It's interesting to me how that country has hung in there. I mean, that's truly the wild card. You know what I mean?
I am astonished. I really, and they're invading now.
They're invading.
So, now they've got something to trade. You want your land back? You give us ours.
You got to love it, buddy boy.
Yeah.
You got to love it.
Yeah, I'm all behind the Ukrainians and Israel. So.
Well, Tehran keeps threatening, but I'm sure that you're talking about two huge nuclear powers that they're going to tweak the nose of. I guess the Israelis are probably the fifth or sixth or seventh largest nuclear power on the planet now.
Certainly.
That little country's got about 100 warheads.
Yeah, well, I don't think Iran's going to do anything. I don't think they will. Oh, they shot how many drones? 300 drones last time, and what kind of damage did they do? Nothing. Pretty much nothing. We blew them all out of the sky long before they got to Israel. So,
but it's expensive. That's the problem. We're using pretty expensive.
War has always been
anti-missile
expensive,
missiles.
Doc. War has always been expensive.
Yep.
But you got to use your resources correctly, and I don't think we are. Like you said last week, bomb the factory where they make the drones instead of trying to bomb, where they're shooting them from.
Yeah, and I don't know why they don't. Maybe there's some tactical reason or a strategic reason, but I don't know.
More than likely, they just don't want to start a war with Iran. But we're already at war. We just don't admit
to
it.
hell with that. I mean, these proxy wars. Let's quit pussyfooting around and let's get in there and do some damage.
Go to the source.
Go to the source.
Cut the head off.
Well, I'm sure the Israelis said, "Look, we can get at anybody, anytime, anywhere in Iran, and if the Ayatollah wants to mess with us, we'll take him out." And of course, all of a sudden, the great spiritual leader is like, "Wait a minute, self-preservation comes first."
That's right. I like this nice house. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why I think North Korea will never start a real war anyway, because Kim Jong-un, he likes the finer things in life. They don't deliver fine cheeses to the third cave on the left.
No, they don't. And
FedEx won't go there. No.
He doesn't want to lose his condo on Nob Hill in San Francisco either. So
I didn't know he had one there, but I'm sure he does probably.
Probably.
Yeah, some land somewhere.
I'm sure somewhere in Canada or the United States.
Somewhere out of range. That's right. Of his country.
A warm, friendly, first world country.
That's right. Exactly. So.
Because I can't imagine he wants to go to Moscow to
no, of course not. No. You go to Florida, you go to Arizona, you go somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Go to the Mediterranean.
You go to Singapore, but I don't
it's not far enough away.
I don't think the Singapore people would welcome him with open arms.
Probably not. But I don't think he's ever going to start a war either. He's just.
I don't know. I hope not. I mean,
the retaliation would be total.
Well,
he have nothing.
Democrats in power, they'll pussyfoot around.
No. Kim starts going nuclear. Everybody will want him to shoot.
Oh, if he goes nuclear,
yeah,
we'll bury his ass.
Yeah, nothing left there at all.
So the interesting case this week I had at the hospital is one of my patients came in and she's an older woman, confused, short of breath, low oxygen, fast heart rate. And I thought maybe she had a bad infection, and a lot of the markers pointed to that. But then we did an echocardiogram on her, and she had heart failure on both sides. So the left side of the heart wasn't pumping very well, and the right side of the heart was being overloaded from pressure increase in the lungs. And the left heart can cause right heart failure, and right heart failure can also be caused by, as you know, lung disease. And one of the big offenders is what?
What do you mean, as you know?
Smoking. Anything that will inflame the tissues in the lungs. And
as
cause,
you know. Okay.
Cause
Something you want to tell me?
scarring.
Something you want to tell me, Doc? Something in the last X-ray you saw?
Hint, hint. So at any rate, the intensivist and the resident, they were talking and I was talking, and so I suggested we used milrinone, which is a short-term stimulant for the heart muscle, but it gets both the left and the right heart, and it also opens up the blood vessels in the lungs a little bit more, and miraculous the way that drug works. Now, you can't use it for more than a day or two, and it certainly won't prolong life, but it will decrease suffering and get you out of the hospital. It keeps people out of the hospital anyway. So that was good, and as you can see behind me, the left side of the heart is over here. The the red, and then the blue is here. That's the right side of the heart, where blood comes back from the body. It's deoxygenated, so we make that side look blue. And here are the great vessels here coming back, the vena cava and the inferior and superior vena cava, and they come back into the right atrium and then down into the right ventricle, and then out and up into the pulmonary artery, and then out to the lungs.
All right.
And so what happens is the right side of the heart gets overloaded from increased pressure in the lungs or from the left heart, because the left heart can back up fluid into the lungs, and then the lungs are just as if they had too much pressure going back towards the right, because the only communication really between the right and left heart in a normal adult is through the lungs. Did you know that?
I did not, no.
Yeah. So you got a double pump system there. One pumps to the lungs and the other to the heart. Now, in babies in the womb, there are some connections because they don't need their lungs. Mom's doing the breathing for them. So there's a hole in the heart where the blood flows from the right side of the right atrium into the left side, left atrium. And there's also a big artery that connects the pulmonary artery and the aorta, which are right here. So the aorta is the big red one, and the pulmonary artery is the smaller blue one.
And in the mother, that's all through the placenta, right? Oh.
Yeah, the baby gets oxygen and food and nutrition through the placenta, and so but those close up shortly after birth because of changes in the pressure and surfactants in the lungs and different hormones normally. Now, occasionally they'll stay open, and then sometimes we have to go in and repair the hole in the heart, or go in and block off that communication, that artery that we call the ductus, D-U-C-T-U-S. And so when that stays open too long, we call that patent ductus arteriosus, which means the artery that we call the duct is staying open, and then we can go in. Now, we used to have to crack the chest open, but now you can do everything with the catheter. You know, just wiggle a wire up there with something on it that will do what you need it to do, whether it's patch up the hole in the heart or put a little plug in that artery between the two great vessels, the ductus. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
What if you don't know you have that hole? You just go through life with it? I mean, can it kill you eventually?
There are people who have a small patent ductus, but who don't get picked up in infancy. But we usually pick them up in early adulthood. They have signs and symptoms: shortness of breath, blue. We call them blue babies when you have blood from the right side of the heart going out into the left side, because the right side, the blood is without oxygen. It's coming back from the veins and the periphery after it's been used, and the oxygen has been sucked out of it by the muscles and the organs. And so we call those blue babies. And occasionally you'll see an adult who has not been corrected, and they have a patent ductus, and they can have blue hands and fingers, and they'll say, you know, I notice this when I'm under stress or it's really cold out. I get these weird colors in my hands, and I can't keep up with everybody on the football or basketball or gym field, and that those things happen. I mean,
yeah, because in my news days, I've done stories about like high school athletes who dropped dead on the court, and they will say, well, there's a hole in their. They died from having a hole in their heart or something like that.
Well, they could, but more often than not, those are people who have either arrhythmogenic, which means a bad rhythm, right ventricular outflow tract problems. The right ventricular outflow tract is where the blood goes out from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery. Or they can have what we call hypertrophic, which means enlarged muscle on the left side, and that can cause sudden death. It can cause rhythm disturbances. Either one of those can cause heart rhythm disturbances, and that's more likely than a hole in the heart. Usually the hole in the heart, you'll have symptoms of shortness of breath and heart failure, depending on how bad it is, right heart disease, overload to the right because the left side the pressure is so much higher that if there's a hole, at least initially, the left side will overwhelm the right side because it'll pump blood back into the right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes the right side enlarge and thicken up, and then you can have it coming back the other way. Usually that's a bad situation, and we do have medications and treatment now, but if it's really, really bad, then you need a heart-lung transplant.
Uh-huh. And really good insurance.
Yeah, or you could get these guys that funded the Nord pipeline sabotage. They got money.
Did they get arrested? I mean, have they taken any action against these guys? 'Cause it was.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
the Russians are.
I'm going to say the Russians will if Zelensky doesn't.
Get hold of it.
They'll find
do some
them.
bad things to these people.
Yes, they will. They're way too close to be doing stuff like that.
They're not nice.
No, they're not.
So we got the Ukrainians going into Russia. The Israelis are talking about launching a war against Hezbollah before anything else happens. And who do you think's going to win that?
Well, I think the F-35s usually win.
Yeah, I think so. And I can't believe that the Hezbollah has thousands of rockets. I mean, they're not making them themselves, are they?
I don't think so. They get them from Iran or Korea, North Korea, one of the two.
So they're buying them, and where are they getting the money for this? Are they being funded by the Iranians?
Probably the Saudis.
And the Saudis are holding peace talks.
That's right. Yeah, I think the whole world is actually run by the Saudis, if you ask me.
It's a strange, strange world. You know what I mean?
It is. That's right.
It's just hard to believe some of the stuff that goes on. I still can't believe that Hitler and Stalin were actually doing business until the day Hitler invaded Russia.
I know. Hitler must have laughed a lot during those days.
Yeah.
How could they believe me again? After I've taken Czechoslovakia, Poland, and now he thinks I'm not coming in to get him? Is he crazy?
Yeah, they must. The German hierarchy must have thought these people are stupid.
But there is a line of thought that Stalin actually trapped Hitler into that by stretching out his resources so much to the point that he could not keep up with it, and then the Russian army just surrounded him like they did at Stalingrad, and just took him out because they got so far stretched they didn't have the supplies coming in. They didn't even have winter coats for the soldiers. And those Russian winters can be a little brutal.
Yeah.
Just ask Napoleon.
Well, I think he forgot his overcoat.
Yes, he did. And most of his army.
Yeah, I think they sent 250,000 men in and like only 5,000 made
Something. It was an incredible low number that came out, yeah.
Same way with the Germans at Stalingrad. Paulus's army was 250,000 when they surrendered and they were captured, and only 5,000 ever made it back to Germany.
Yeah, they weren't treated well when they got into prison.
Well,
I think they treated Americans better. Yeah,
whether it's the Russian winter or the Russians themselves, I don't want to go to Russia and get locked up.
That's right.
I mean, even if they let you go and you're up near the Arctic Circle and they said, "Here, you're free, bye."
Yeah, good luck.
How do you get home?
Oh, your clothes, they didn't make it with you. Yeah, your luggage didn't make it.
Here, have a pair of shoes. Get
Your
out.
luggage went to Hawaii. Sorry. Oh, well.
So there's a report now that these scientists at the University of Connecticut are working on a drug to inhibit what they call the zombie cells. Apparently, there are some cells in the body that are predisposed to death and causing death around them, and so they're trying to work on this, and they've prolonged the lives of some mice by, I guess, knocking off these zombie cells inside of it. I kind of like that, zombie cells.
Why do we have zombie cells? I think they kill off old cells.
Well, I was talking with God last week, and he said, he said, I planned it that way so you idiots wouldn't take over.
I got to make sure you die, so I put some zombies right inside.
Get rid of you guys. Oh, my. So, but at any rate, so they go on to talk about this and whether or not it'll prolong life. And guess what they say at the end of the article? These are the guys that are working on this research. Guess what they say? Well, the best thing to prolong life?
Yeah, what?
Stay skinny.
Oh, okay. Well,
stay active and stay socially involved. That's why the women in part outlive us, because they keep socializing. But when our wives die, or our significant others, depending upon our, if we're binary or whatever.
Whatever you think you are, yes.
Whatever you think you are. Guys tend to isolate.
Yeah, well, I believe that. Sure. That's why I can't plan to work till the day I can't physically do this job anymore. I like it too much. It's fun.
Well, but the problem is that one of the reasons men die earlier than women.
Mm-hmm.
They can only absorb so much. In their ears.
Right.
They can only hear so much.
Their heads explode.
And then their heads explode.
Okay.
And
one of these days, we're going to have women with signs protesting over here.
Oh yeah, okay, but here's the other thing is you can't trust the Korean women. And here's the story. So these two women, one was a Korean and the other was a Vietnamese, and they're hiking up somewhere in the Himalayas, and they come to a beautiful mountain lake on the trail, and they slip and fall in, and there's another Korean guy who was hiking near them, and he ran over and he grabbed the Vietnamese woman and pulled her out, and the Korean woman splashed around saying, "Help, help, why won't you pull me out?" He said, "You touch a Korean woman, she'll yell rape and call the police." That's my wife.
Really? A little exaggeration here and there?
She's the one who told it to me.
Okay.
That's her joke.
Okay, well, then she can tell it. That's right.
She can tell it. Oh, my God. So if I grab her and tickle her, she starts yelling, rape.
Oh, I'll bet you stop.
Well, at first I did. I thought, oh, crap, are they here? The cops or what? She
That's
told
right.
them in advance. Then I realized they're not coming over this. Then I held her down and really tickled her.
Okay. Well, what you guys do in your home is your own business. So
That's right. And we don't share it with anybody.
that's right.
And I never talk about anything personal on the show.
No.
So all these signs that the stock market is at a peak are coming along, and the price earnings ratio is way up. I think it's the third highest it's been since 1900. The price earnings ratio is the price of the stock. So let's say the stock's $10 and it earns $1 a year, then that's 10. So it's like 35 now, and traditionally, historically, it's been running 12 to 16 over the past decade or two. It's gone up some, Ken, because everything's inflated up, and there's a lot of money out there. But 35 is pretty high. And then another indicator that people are watching is the Fed indicator, which is the spread between what you can make on a bond, on a treasury bond, versus how much you can get in dividends on your stocks. So if your stock is paying a dividend of, let's say, $5 a year, and the treasury bonds are paying 0.5%, and the stock costs you $100 to buy one, and the bond costs you $100, obviously the stock's going to be of more value. But if the bond market goes up, like we've seen in the past few years, where we went up to 4% and 5%, it's coming back down now a little bit, and the stock earnings drop below 5%, well, then what are you going to do? You're going to go into bonds because you want to make money. So that ratio is also upside down, and the Feds are saying, the Federal Reserve is saying, well, this is an indicator that the stock's overpriced and the market's going to fall. And I know that the guy who has the show on before me is always talking about the market crashing. Over the long haul, the market outperforms everything. But this is a short-term situation, and depressions, recessions can last several years.
Well, I've been hearing for years that we're due for a correction. So
Yeah, and you and I have both talked about this on the show, and I've said even in the past year or two, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're not going to have a crash. Maybe it's going to be a soft landing. That's what Joe Biden said. He said we're having a soft landing. Of course, my butt still hurts, but
Yeah, and he also stood there with his mouth hanging open on national television. But
and
Doc, you know what time it is?
Is it time for coffee?
It's time to get a fresh cup of coffee.
All right.
And a question.
And a mug.
And I'm 2 mugs, actually.
2 mugs.
We're giving away 2 Dr. Bill Your Radio MD coffee mugs. Doc's got them on the Facebook page right there, showing everybody's watching. And the first person with the correct answer to a question that I have not formed yet. Do you have a question that you could form today? What did we talk about earlier? I'm trying to think what we were talking about earlier because we usually do something from the
Who blew up the Nord pipeline?
There you go. That's today's
Who blew
question.
Up the Nord natural gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea.
We don't need the names.
We just need, you can give us a country.
Right. Let's just say it'll be a 50-50 shot. You either got Russia or you got Ukraine, since they're the ones fighting.
Somebody inside those countries did
somebody
something
inside
bad.
those countries. It was not a sanctioned hit, as they used to say.
The Dons didn't meet on it completely.
That's right.
All right,
Anyway,
give us a number to call.
I am going to do that right now. 877-969-8600. That's 877-969-8600. One more time, 877-969-8600, the number to call. And the first person with the correct answer wins the 2 mugs. And that's all there is to it. Pretty easy, if you ask me.
And,
so what
and
was
we'll
the country responsible for destroying the gas line there?
And we'll be right back after the break. Don't you go away. Go grab a cup of Joe. Change your Depends. I'm Dr. Bill, your Radio MD.
For tonight, clear skies with a low of 80. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 92. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy with occasional rain and a thunderstorm late, low 79. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
There you go, Doc.
And I'm back. This is Dr. Bill. Got Ken with me, and we are in the second half on the downside of this, I think, interesting and fun show.
Oh, yeah. I'm loving this one.
Oh, yeah. There are lots going on. So I wanted to talk about this before we jumped on to something else. There's a new company called Natron, Natron. It's making sodium ion. You know what a lithium ion battery is? You know, the ones you put in all of your appliances and your phones and all that. And also that's what's running the electric cars are lithium ion batteries. Well, the problem with lithium is that China's got a ton of it. We have a ton of it too, but
we're not mining it, right?
The Democrats in their wisdom won't let us mine it because it might hurt the little spotted guppies.
It wouldn't look good. It'd be ugly.
Yep. And so this company is making now a sodium ion battery. They're developing it, and they've pumped 1.3 billion into building a factory in North Carolina. Now, sodium on the periodic table is Na. That's the symbol for it. Natrium, I think, is the word or the Latin for it.
It's salt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's salt. It's just sodium.
Do we have to salt our cars?
Well, yeah, and so you just pull up to the gas station and they dump a bag of rock salt in and you take off. It's pretty cheap.
If it was that fast, I would buy it.
Yeah, and so the idea is that we're going to be able to use these instead of lithium ion, so then we won't be dependent upon foreign imports. And of course, salt's pretty cheap and easy to get. We have a bunch of it down here all around us. It's already dissolved for us. It's called the ocean.
Right, exactly. Salt mines are just huge. I don't know if you've ever we put like nuclear waste in salt mines.
And, you know Pizarro, you know the conquistador that took Peru and that area and beat the Incas?
Yeah, he was a fun guy.
Yeah, when he first got to South America, he wanted to get in touch with a tribe because he heard they had gold that they were selling and buying. And so when he found them, and he damn near killed them all, what he discovered was that what they were trading was salt. Salt was more valuable back then than gold.
Really? Of course. Well, they used it to preserve meat, so yeah.
Yeah, use it to preserve meat and to spice things up. Because can you imagine just eating corn all day without salt and some butter on it?
Oh, no, of course not. Got to have the butter, especially.
So the sodium, apparently it will give up an electron fairly easily. And so they can put an anode and a cathode and put some different ions in there to make these sodium molecules and atoms give up electrons, and of course that's what we need. We need the electrons. So this is
how does it extend the life of the battery for how long?
I don't know how long these batteries last. As you know, lithium ion in a car will last about 6 to 8 years, maybe longer if you don't run it too much. And lithium ion batteries can last for months and months, even a year or two, depending on what you have it in. But and what you're driving. So if you're driving an LED, it doesn't require much.
Right.
But they're more expensive. And that's why we don't use lithium-ion batteries all the time in things like little flashlights unless it's a rechargeable. Because it wouldn't be cost-effective. So you still use the nickel metal hydride or whatever they are. And you throw those away after a few months of use and put in some new ones. At any rate, so they have a mixture that they use, and it helps to allow the electrons to move through, and then you can always recharge it too. So like in my car, you have to plug it in every now and then, and it also has a recharger as part of the braking system, which is pretty interesting, Ken.
Really? It takes the energy from the brakes.
Well, it's actually the braking is done on the electric motor itself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have an electric motor that either is being driven by electrons or producing electrons, depending on which way you want to push it.
Exactly.
You've also got magnets on the outside of it, and those magnets with a copper field going through it gets the electrons moving.
It's a turbine. Yeah, it becomes a turbine. Yeah.
It becomes a little round to town thing. Well, if you reverse that as the car slows down, it'll add electrons. So you take electrons away to drive it, and you add electrons back when you're stopping it.
All right, that's about as efficient as you can get in a car.
Yeah, and of course it's not. I mean, it's more efficient than other things, but it's certainly not that efficient because you still have to charge your car.
Right. Yeah.
And down here, you have to run your air conditioner, which is a lot of juice that it uses.
That probably does suck it from an electric car, that air conditioner.
Yeah, because in a gas car, you've got a belt-driven condenser for your air conditioner, and also your fan doesn't draw that much power. So you're going to have to drive that condenser compressor somehow. And if you don't have a belt drive, because there's no belts on the electric motor, then you have to use.
You got to use a motor.
You got to have an electric drive, not a mechanical drive.
Doc, we got a winner, by the way.
Who we got?
Joanne's looks like Hailu, Hailu. Joanne's Hailu of El Rico. Knew that it was Ukraine, or residents of Ukraine, that blew up the pipeline, natural gas pipeline. Was that the North Sea?
Joanne, you're
was that the North Sea? The North Sea? Was that in the North Sea? I'm not sure.
That's
where that was.
In the Baltic.
Baltics. Okay.
The Baltic is that little sea off the North Sea that you get into that by going past Copenhagen through that little straits there between Sweden and Denmark. And then you get in there, and the countries that are on that are Denmark, Germany, of course the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, a little bit of Russia because you got St. Petersburg there, and then you've got Finland and Sweden. And those are the countries that surround that little body of water.
I've seen the cruises. A lot of cruises go around that.
Oh, beautiful. It was really fun. Nice. Interesting.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Plane ride's pretty long.
When you're rich and famous and your wife,
your
wife will go with
Well,
you.
I'm 65. I better get going on that.
You better hurry up, buddy boy.
So Joanne will be sending the 2 coffee mugs out to you. Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mug. So enjoy those. Thanks to everybody who called in and tried to win.
And Joanne, thanks for being part of the show. We really appreciate you, and we need you.
Hope everything's okay out there in El Rico.
How far away is that?
I'll bet it's 45 minutes away. It's sort of just east of Brandon, that area.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little south of that.
That's a long hike.
It is.
So
sure, it's very nice and quiet out there, too, I'll bet.
Well, not on Sundays.
No, everybody's got Dr. Bill on the radios.
Oh, my God.
They have Dr. Bill listening parties out there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear about the rape and murder of a resident female doctor over in India? And the whole damn medical community in the country went on strike.
Did they?
Yeah,
Good.
they're demanding better protection. And there was a nurse in that same area that was raped and murdered, and they found her body not too long ago. And the city is Kolkata, Kolkata, and that's in the western part of the country, one of the states there. And they have this big movement called Reclaim the Night. So they are upset that this kind of crime is going on, and they want their government to do something about it. Can you imagine if we did that?
No.
No,
no,
you're not going to see the medical community go on strike here
no,
over
not
a resident being murdered.
No, I can't see that happening.
But I thought that was interesting that they did that, and I was
well. That's quite a problem over there, and it has been for a very, very long time.
But they have such a low crime rate overall. I mean, they got a lot of petty crime, a lot of pickpockets, and that sort of thing. But major crimes like this, I'm sure, are fairly rare.
Well, I'm not sure. I seem to hear about them, but on a fairly regular basis. Most of the time, it's a gang rape kind of situation, but it's a bigger story, I guess.
Yeah, the Muslims raping the Hindu women.
Yeah.
But
more wars over religion than anything else, Doc. You know that.
Well, that's the catalyst that those who want war use. But I would guess at the bottom of it always there's money and power. You know?
Right. Yeah. When you get down right to the root cause, yeah, they're looking for money. Yeah.
Yeah, they want money.
Yeah. Well,
somebody wants some cash, baby. So what's going to happen with Israel? They're going to go in there and get Hezbollah or what?
yes, I think they will get Hezbollah. They're going to go. They're not ready to go in Iran yet. I don't think. Not officially. They like to do things clandestinely over there, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Neither do I. We don't need to know.
Well, they keep calling me and wanting my input on how to handle it. And
stay out of it, Doc. Stay out of it.
I said, look, I've got a radio show to do. You don't want me.
I'm just half Jewish.
Yeah, and I have too much knowledge. I'll blab it on the
I
air.
will tell everybody where you're going next. So don't tell us anything. Yeah. Don't want to let the world know we're going in. We would let that slip.
So, we talked a while back about the Supreme Court overturning. I guess they felt that the realtors were price fixing because everybody was charging the exact same fee for selling a house, 6 or whatever it was percent. And so now that that's been overturned, commissions are coming down and it's getting more competitive. I'm wondering if that's going to really affect the prices of homes, but or
what I've been reading, it won't that much.
Yeah, because people will just factor that in, and they'll
it's going to be baked in. Exactly, it'll all be baked in.
So they'll just ask more. So I don't know how much that's going to help the market, but it'll help the individuals who are involved in the sale.
If you're selling the house, you're going to have more profit.
Yeah, the seller will be the ones who really come out on top.
The buyers are going to have to pony up some dough, probably.
Yeah.
Unless the seller agrees to pay. I guess that's the thing. The seller can either agree to pay it or refuse to pay the other realtor. And who's going to agree? How many people are going to agree?
And you remember we talked about the riots in London last week?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The prime minister said that, I don't know if we mentioned this or not. I think it's worth mentioning again. He said that anybody who's stirring it up on social media, he's going to arrest. And that is both in Great Britain and the United States. So he's coming over here with a bunch of bobbies. And
he's sending the redcoats? Is it?
He's sending the redcoats back in. He's going to pick us up, Ken.
Okay, well, we're ready this time.
We got better weapons than we did.
We
had pretty good weapons back then. Our long rifle, our Kentucky long rifle that became very popular during the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it was so much more accurate is that it was a longer barrel and it had some rifling in it. So the rifling are the little grooves that you spiral into the inside of the barrel, and that makes the bullet spin around. And of course, that gives it a steadier trajectory. And so we were picking off their generals at 400, 500 yards, which is a pretty far distance to shoot with a musket.
Not for guys who've been shooting squirrels.
Yeah,
all their lives,
yeah. You had to practice.
That's right. So it's an easy shot.
But that's what ended the Battle of Monmouth. One of the American snipers, he nailed the general in charge of the British Army, and all the Brits laid down their arms because they were they're very hierarchical, and so when they lose a leader, they just stop. Same with the Germans during World War II. They didn't know what to do. Of course, the Americans, like The hell with that. I'm in charge now. No,
That's
I am
right.
in
Exactly. There's always somebody waiting
Yeah,
to
then you
step
take
up.
a vote and say, yeah, Joe can be in charge. Hey, Joe, go out front and see what's going on. Stick
So,
your
yeah.
head out of the foxhole. Give us a read.
But that's true. Yeah. They could not make a decision. They were not allowed to make decisions. So,
And they were trained to march very tightly, and the Americans figured, why do that? Let's
that's stupid.
look, if they're coming at us and we don't have the firepower, let's hide and shoot.
Yeah. we just didn't play by their rules. That's all.
No, and I don't think we should.
We were the first guerrilla warfare, pretty much.
Well, we were certainly in this part of the world. We were the first, but I think the Vietnamese had that down a long time ago. They kicked the Chinese out a couple of times over the millennia by going guerrilla. And, their punji stakes. Those
are masterful, but really deadly.
Yeah, and they were hidden sharpened bamboo sticks, and you'd step on them, and of course they'd coat them with dung and whatever else, cow poop, and then you get infected. And they used those 1,000 years ago, I think, against the Chinese.
Well, they were certainly effective against our guys.
Well, at least the press made it sound that way. I don't know how many actual injuries. I have not seen or heard, in my practice, I've not seen or heard a vet come in and tell me that he had a punji stake injury. I've had a few that come in with gunshot wounds during the Vietnam War.
Well, maybe it wasn't. I mean, it could have been very well just the media. It was it was a sensational story. So
the media was left wing then, and they didn't want us in Vietnam.
Right.
So at any rate, it's fascinating. A fascinating part of our history. So I got this one patient, and he did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. He was a sergeant, and he was out in a rice field, and they got into a firefight, and he took a hit in his calf, in his leg, and his CO said, "Oh my God, we got to get you evac'd out of here." And he's like, "Dude, just wrap it up and let's keep fighting." And so his CO was new in the field, and he was saying, "Look, you can't abandon the fight right now. How are you going to get a medevac helicopter in here? They'll shoot it down." And
you
sure
cause
enough,
more casualties. Yeah, you cause more casualties than you got now.
Yeah, and sure enough, his CO called in a helicopter. It got shot down. So then they fought their way to the edge of the rice field, and one of his friends, who was a colonel, was flying around and heard the action and came over and picked him up. But the interesting part is he got taken back to the field hospital, and after they patched him up, somebody said, "Hey, that guy that was flying the helicopter that tried to pick you up first?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "He's outside on a gurney. Why don't you go talk to him? He wants to see you." Well, he got shot down twice that day.
Oh, my.
But a tremendous story. And this guy, he's something else. He's funny as hell.
Okay, well, you do tour. You got to enjoy yourself if you're going to volunteer for that second.
Yeah, well, he said the first time he was really gung-ho, and the second time he was scratching his head saying, what the hell are we doing here? But I think that the direction had gone every which way but the right way at that point. And
well, I think everybody began to see we had no intention of winning that war.
Well, that's what the
just
press
fighting
said.
it.
That's what the press said. I mean, we were winning it. Our kill ratio was 10-1 for every.
Oh, we never lost a battle.
And for every one of our jets were shot down, 6 or 7 MiGs were shot down. So I mean, we weren't losing the war. The left wing just didn't want it. They want to be a communist country too.
Well, we never attacked it like we did. If we were going at it the way we did with Normandy.
Germany.
Yeah, we would have. The war would have been over in a year.
Well, plus you had Democrats in power, and MacArthur had retired or died or whatever, so we couldn't drop nukes on them. But they were, they didn't have the intelligence. Like, if we do this, if we go north and get close to the Chinese border, the Chinese will come in and attack us, and the Russians and blah, 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 blah. Okay,
exactly. Okay. Well,
okay.
So,
what's
your point? Yeah, this is a war.
Prepare.
I mean, the Ukrainians, the best thing they did was go into Russia.
Yeah, just, the best defense is an offense, or the best offense is a defense. I don't know.
Something like that, yeah. But they had Russians were, they were lining these guys up right across the border, and we wouldn't let the Ukrainians hit them. So finally we said, go ahead, and they did, and now they're not lining people up across the border anymore. They've got to push them back, push them back, push them way back.
Yep. And speaking of battles, we've got a big battle going on between Medicare and the big pharmaceutical companies. And the laws changed several years ago, which now allows Medicare to negotiate prices for drugs with the drug companies directly. And the drug companies filed suit and pushed back and said this was, not free enterprise and restriction of trade and all that. But now they're starting to back off because they realize they're not going to get anywhere with it. But they're still haggling a lot over prices. And one of the big things is going to be over insulin, which has been priced way up. When I was a kid, when I first started into this profession, if you were a diabetic and you went into a pharmacy, the pharmacist had to give you insulin.
We're a long way from that.
For free.
Wow.
But that's changed over the eons.
We're about 3 minutes away from the top of the hour, Doc. Yeah, about 3 minutes away.
Well, then we've got just about enough time to talk about drugs and how much they're costing. I was out on the street, man. The good stuff's gone way up.
Well, really, I mean, if it's such a big market that they're selling to, if you buy in bulk, you always get a discount. That's an American tradition.
Well, I think that's a worldwide tradition, but yeah. And the best way to see it is go shop in Canada. We're 10 times their size, and it's just an economy of scale. A pair of jeans that cost you $20 down here will cost you $30 up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that way with everything: gas, food. It's really fascinating to see. And even in Singapore, we were shopping. And the friends we made there, they said, "Oh, you don't want to shop here. It's much cheaper in the United States, except for that one discount store I told you about, Mustafa's. That was cheap. If you looked around, I mean, the name brands were as expensive, if not more than expensive than in the United States. But if you looked for off brands, which were just as good, I mean, they were pretty cheap."
This was at Singapore?
Yeah, that's it. Mustafa's. Mustafa, it's a big discount department store.
So the Walmart of Singapore, apparently. Huh?
I mean, they got everything there. They even change money. They got a bank.
Really?
They've got a medical clinic. They got
get your driver's license there and everything, huh?
You can do everything there. There's camping equipment, baby equipment. I bought a tripod for my camera. And I mean, it was like $35. Hell, I couldn't even get a part for one of my camera tripods.
That is very cheap. 1 minute, Doc. 1 minute warning.
We got 1 minute to go.
1 minute warning.
Dr. Bill, and I'm at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. And Ken, we've got telemedicine. And we've got, by the way, COVID's on the rise, so I'm counting on more of you guys calling in for telemedicine visits. We've got in-office, we've got ultrasound, we've got echocardiogram, we do nuclear stress tests, we draw blood, we got labs, we do dipsticks.
Dipsticks?
Yeah, urine infection, you just...
Okay.
We do quick tests for
do that on the parking lot, that one.
And COVID and everything else.
20 seconds, Doc.
We got all these things that we do that are really neat, Ken. You should come and see us sometime.
I'm sorry, I had to cancel a point last week because Roger's on vacation. I'm doing news for him. I couldn't make it.
I know, and my income's falling, so you get your butt down there, buddy.
All right, well, with that, I think we're going to say goodbye, Doc.
Okay, goodbye, Doc.
WGUL on W229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. Come grow with us and reach your retirement goals.
Experience the best selection of cigars.